Hey, it's Angie. I just wanted to come on today and show you a little tip or trick. And I just wanted to present my new backdrop. I'm in a different room. I know the other room was a lot more echoey. This room is certainly not echoey by any stretch of the imagination, but there was a loud snake noise, staticky noise when I tried to do a video before. So please let me know if that has been resolved. I think I got it figured. I think I fixed it. But if you hear it or if there's something going on, please let me know so that I can fix it and probably redo this video. So without further ado, let's get to it. Oh, good. Thank goodness, because my camera froze the last time I was trying to do this. So let's make sure we're zoomed out all the way. Okay. All right. So I'm going to show you how I start, how I tat over my tails, how I begin. And you can do the same thing if you're doing a single shuttle. I'm going to demonstrate with two shuttles. I've got two different color threads. I've got a gray and a purple. Because most of the time I would bet, the majority of us are going to be working with two colors or two different kinds of thread. So this is what I do. It's the same. If I were to do this with one shuttle, I would set up for a ring, because that's, the one shuttle work is a ring. And I would kind of go around this, and I would set it up so that it kind of looked like that on my finger. And then I would begin tatting, and just exactly how I'm going to show you with two in just a moment. So with two, I just make a loop and hold it in the pinch. There's nothing special about the loop. I just make a loop and hold it together with my right hand. Then I take the left hand, and it doesn't really matter how, left or right, and I just put this through that loop and basically make another loop. And then I kind of crimp these so that there's a definite crimp in the thread, kind of right there where they're joined. And then I hold kind of right where they're joining. Let me zoom in just a hair. And this is the way I hold it when I start tatting. And then this one I would be setting up for a ring. So I go ahead and set up for a ring. And then I'm going to just hold this so you can see the pinch. See, there's all the stuff I'm holding in the pinch. And I just hold it down like that. And then I do the first half. I'm going to try and get it nice and close here and go slow. And then I pull that through and flip the stitch. Come on, flip, baby. There you go. And then this loop right here is what I'm aiming for, because I want my tail to be hidden along this line. So I take this, and you can see right now it's in front, and I take it, and I just normally do like this. I pinch it between my fingers and I just grab it and push it through that loop. Do like that. And so then they're behind that piece. You see that? Now I'm going to take this out and do it opposite so you can see what it's not supposed to look like if you did it backwards. It would come up. If you came up through there, it wouldn't lay properly. See how it's not laying along with the shuttle thread? It's going over this loop. So you want to make sure that it's going the right direction. So for the first half, you want to go down through that little loop, and then so they lay next to each other and behind the loop. And then you just pull that loop all the way down to the start And there you go. Okay, now the second half, you do your second half, and go ahead and leave that dangle. You do your second half and flip that stitch, and it sometimes will automatically lay to the back, which is what you want it to do, and sometimes it will not. And so you have to kind of flip it up, and this is where hooks and picks and stuff come in handy, to flip it up so that, again, it's laying with that shuttle thread. Okay, let me take it out so you can see what it looks like when it's wrong. So if you were to do this the wrong way and put it, you know, try to lay it with that thread and you didn't do it properly, see how that's not laying with, it's going all wonky and it's laying over the top of this thread and not laying neatly. So that's how you can tell. So let's get that out. So you want the beginning part of, let's open this up a little bit. So still keep the keep the stitch flipped. Woo, my tongue got really excited about that one. And then you want the beginning part, you want that to go down. And then behind there, and you want this part to come up through that little loop, that little second loop there, the second part of the pretzel, if you will. And if you pull it up through there, then it will lay right next to your shuttle thread, and then pull that down. And see, now you've got one complete double stitch. Okay, and so let's just, I don't know, let's do like 10 or so. I always, you know, lie about how many I'm going to do. So I don't mean to, but okay, so you flip the stitch, you make sure this is flipped, and then you just sort of pull it down through this, what I'm calling the second loop. This I would call like the first part of the loop, this right here, and then this right here is the second part. See the difference? And so if you put these put them two together, see how they're laying correctly and nicely, your stitch is still flipped. Pull it down into the pinch. That's 2.5. Well, a half, a half, a half. So that's 1.5 actually, sorry. Got ahead of myself. And then again, if you already keep this to the back, it kind of helps you. So kind of keep it to the back. And then you can just flip it to the front. Make sure they're the same. And these stitches are a little thicker because you have two threads kind of being hidden within them. I would say to do this for at least 4 or 5 stitches, and then I'll show you what we do. So we're going to pull that one down. Pull that one down to the first one, up through the second. And it's always, you can just lay them side by side and see if they're laying straight, and if they are, then you're perfect, and you just tighten the stitch. So I've got 1, 2, 3. And I've taken to practicing tatting Jane's way slip and slide. So that's what I'm doing right now. So there's the first half. And if you kind of help him to the back, sometimes he'll see like that, he didn't want to go. So you just kind of have to convince, no, we want you in the back there. And sometimes, you know, the thread wants to do what it wants to do. So you just have to play with it a little bit. Make sure that what I'm calling that second loop right here, make sure it's open enough that you can play with it. See, and then you just kind of flip it forward. Everybody see that? Let me know in the comments if I need to do this better. or if it's clear. And I didn't pull that tight enough, so you see an extra bump at the bottom. But that fourth one is nice and clean. 1, 2, 3, 4. That fourth one is nice and clean because I didn't have this thread pulled snugly, so you see the ugly bumps at the bottom. But I'm not going to redo it because I don't want this video to be an hour and a half long. So let's get it moving. So again, that first half, you kind of go down through that loop. Make sure they're laying close. Snug it up. Second half, we want that to go behind and then up through that second loop. What I'm calling the second loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, that's plenty. Okay, so now we've got enough. Now, if you wanted to, depending on how big your ring is, you can carry this through as far as you want. You don't want to stop carrying your tail right before a picot. You want to carry it through the picot. So if I had a picot that was supposed to go right here, I was supposed to do 5 picot, whatever, just carry it through the picot. So that first half, go down, and then just make your picot. It's going to be, let's say, that big, okay? And then hold it, and then your second half, grab it and flip it up through there. Make sure it's laying properly. Snug it up to the base, and there's your picot. And you're carrying the two threads through there, and it's fine. So there's 5 picot, and then that's plenty to carry it through. So let's say you want to be done. So do that first half, flip it down so that it's laying properly. I kind of twisted it, sorry. There you go. So that it's laying properly. Snug it down. Now you can decide. You can fold it up and hold it like that. You can fold it down and hold it like that. It doesn't matter. And sometimes, depending on which way the thread is kind of laying and leaning, will make the difference for me. It doesn't matter. Tatter's preference, it really doesn't make any difference whatsoever. But we've done the first half. I'm going to fold it up because that seems to be the way it's going to leave less of a bump. Come on, work with me. Okay. And then you just do the second half as normal with it folded out of the way. Everybody see that? So there you go. It's folded out of the way. Now it's in the middle of that stitch. You made it through the picot, so if it comes unraveled, it's not going to show through because you've done an extra stitch. It's plenty to hold it into place. It won't hopefully come unraveled. So now we've got 5 picot and 2. So let's do, I don't know. And then you keep tatting, so just keep that tail out of the way. Just as normal. 3, 4, 5. Let's do another picot, and like we're doing a motif. And then 2. I need more thread. 3, 4, 5. Okay, so now we've got 5 picot, 5 picot, 5 picot, 5. Okay, so now we're going to close. We're going to keep our tail out of the way. Where we're just going to close as usual. You can post if you like. Doesn't matter. Pull, pull, pull around towards 7. Make sure you do the floofy dance. It's nice and tight. I always give this a little tug, my tail. I give the tail a little tug just to snug up them stitches. Make sure you don't tug too hard because you can pull these out of shape. But now we have a tail coming out the middle. and you just want to kind of make sure it's in the middle of the stitches. You want to hold your scissors flat against your work so that you don't cut into your stitches. You want to be sure that you're away from any picots so you don't cut your picot. But you can cut as close as your little heart desires. Don't be scared. Ta-da! And then you have it, and you have your first ring. Now pay no attention to the extra bumpies that we started with there. But you have a perfectly good ring. Let's get it up close so you can see it good. See? Perfectly good ring. And whoop, well, well, you did. You had one and then it fell off the table. But a perfectly good ring to start out with, and you've hidden your ends. Okay? So now, normally after a ring you would do a chain, so let's reverse work. And I've got my chains all wonkified here. Here you go. That's going to be my new word of the day. And you just set up for a chain as normal. I set up for a chain by wrapping around 3 fingers, if you count my pinch finger, 3 fingers and once backwards around my pinky. And then I kind of use that to tension. Again, we're going to hide our tail. And this is how I do it. You're free to do it however you want to do it. You are the master of the thread. So I need to choke up on this. I've got 5 miles of thread here. Okay. So now I don't have quite enough. Okay. Happy medium. So again, first half of the double stitch as normal. And you see that's unflipped. So flip it. Oh, is that going to be hard to see? Let's hold on 1 second. Let's move that out of the way. Those were just so I had some sort of tatting in the background, just so we could see it. All right, let's try this. Oh, that's better. All right, so you've got that, what I'm calling the first loop right here. First loop is under my finger. Second loop is under my finger. They're not really loops, but that's just how I'm saying it to keep it straight. And that gray one is pretty hard to see. So then we just take the purple and we're just going down through that second loop and we pull so that our gray and our purple are going the same direction. We're laying them in the same direction. Let me take it out so that you can see what it looks like wrong, so that you can know if you've done it right. If we were to go up through there and try to put those threads together, see how they're not laying together because this one is going above that loop and this one is going through that loop. Do you see the difference there? When I pull them together tight, see how it's not laying properly? Maybe if I do like that, you can see. Okay, so in order to do it properly, let's take this back out. No worries. Okay, so this thread that's going up, you're going over that thread and into what I'm calling the second loop of the already flipped double stitch. And then pulling it down, and see how now they're laying together and everybody's going through the loop at the same point. Trying to hold that nice so we get a nice shot of it. See? And then you just snug that down. And again, that purple thread, we can kind of manipulate it a bit. And you just pull it down. And because we're making a chain, it should be purple. And you can snug it right down where you need to. Okay. Second half, again, hopefully this will stay to the back. It doesn't matter if it doesn't though, but you can kind of help it stay to the back of the stitch. Flip it. See how it flipped? And then you just kind of grab it. Pop it through what I'm calling the second loop and see how it lays properly next to the gray. Everybody's on the same side and coming out through the loop properly at the same point. So then you snug it down and there's your 2 loops in a belt. First double stitch. And again, you do this exactly the same as a ring, and you hide exactly the same. So I would say 4 or 5. You can absolutely carry it through the whole chain if you would like. If you don't like the little, sometimes you can see the little bump, if you will, where you stop doing it, where you stop hiding it. I think mostly on the thicker threads. That's kind of a giveaway. Come on, be friends with me. And then come up and see how they're together. And then you just snug it down. There's 2. But see, you can't really tell on the ring where we stopped hiding our thread. To me, it looks pretty symmetrical. Maybe you can tell where the fatter stitches. I mean, this side does look a tiny bit skinnier than this side, but I think it's mostly because I had that big ugly bump that I didn't realize. But you can see a slight difference. So if you wanted to carry it through all the way around and then pull it out and cut it at the end, you certainly could do that. It just depends on how long you have your tail and how long you want it. You don't need a super long tail. I'm doing this kind of for demonstration purposes so you can see, make sure you can see the tail. So again, first half, flip it down through there. And again, if this is not working for you, I just grab it and push it with my fingers. You will go in that hole. And then again, you just hold it and then snug that down, pull with your other finger there. So that's 1, 2 and a half. And for this part, you want to go down for what I'm seeing is the first part of that loop. And then up. I'm going to grab that thread and go up. Make sure your stitch is already flipped. Otherwise, you're just going to have a knot and you're not going to be able to move it. So that's 3. Let's do 2 more. Okay, flip this. See how that's not flipped? Flip that stitch. Then pull your tail down for this first part. Then with the tail to the back, it's not going to go to the back. See, I can tell already it's going to be stubborn. Flip that stitch. I'm going to try to give myself a little more working room here. Okay, see how it's in front? I don't want it in front. I have to get it behind. So put it behind. See how now it's behind? It's behind this piece of thread right here. Now I want it to come up through this circle. So then I just grab it and flip it up. And to double check, I hold them together and they're going over and under the same pieces of thread. So I've done it properly. So then I just pull that down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 more. Maybe a couple more so I can see the arch of the chain. And then again, down for the first half with that tail, snug it up. And you can always pull a little bit gently, pull gently on the tail to kind of snug those stitches and get them kind of where you want them. And then it's in the front. See how it's being stubborn? and it's in the front. I don't want it to be in the front. I want it to be in the back. I want it to lay to the back of the work and then come up through that. And they're laying properly. Sometimes it's kind of relaxing to do this, and so you can kind of get in a thing, and I've done, 6, 7, 10 stitches. I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to cut the tail off at some point. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do 2 more. Okay, so here's 6. So I'm going to do the first half, and I'm going to convince him to go down. Okay, see how they're laying together properly. Let's get a nice close-up of that. Laying together properly. My big finger's out of the way. See? Everybody's over and through the correct and the same stitch, part of the stitch. Snug it down. Okay, now I'm done with that tail, so I'm going to fold it up because obviously it wants to go to the front. So I'm going to fold it up out of the way, and I'm going to do my second half. And then I'm just going to tat as normal for maybe a couple stitches. And then this is a chain, so I'm just going to kind of snug the chain, just pull gently on the shuttle thread and make that archy shape that I like. I'm going to drop everything, and then I'm going to pull gently on my tail thread. I'm going to pull that and arch it, snug those stitches really good, make sure it's arched the way I want. Do the floofy dance, because we all got to do the floofy dance. And then I'm going to pull this kind of to the front and to, the middle of that stitch as close as I can. It's a chain, so it's a little wonky. Sometimes I'll go ahead and make the other ring and attach so that this isn't just flopping out here in the breeze. And there's a little more stability to it. But it doesn't matter. But here I'm going to snug, that kind of came a little loose, so just snug it up. And again, be very careful if you have a picot that you're not cutting into a picot. Make sure that's to the front of the work. Lay your scissors flat against your work and cut as close as you would like. Whew. Always a little heart pounding when you do that. But there you go. And you can do the little floofy dance. And those you can tell, I think, a little bit more where we hid the stitches. Let's get it up where you can see it maybe, huh? Where we hid the stitches in this part, and where we did not hide the stitches in those last couple. So there's nothing wrong with carrying it through if it really bothers you. I don't think I would notice once the whole motif was done that those last 2 stitches on this first chain weren't the same thickness. But if it bothers you, certainly carry it all the way through and then do exactly as we did before. Just get to the very last stitch and pull it, carry it through the whole thing. The very last stitch, you're going to do the first half, pull it, do the second half, cut it off, snug it, pull your tail as tight as you'd like, snug all your stitches and cut it off, and the tail would just be here instead of here in the middle. I like it more in the middle, but it's up to you. You do what you like because you know it. You're the masters of the thread. So there's how I start. There's how I begin with threads. And if I run out in the middle, if this was done, I would get to the end of an element, to the end of a chain, to the end of a ring, and I would do the exact same thing. I would make a ring, I would make a loop, stick some more thread in. This would be my new shuttle thread, so I wouldn't start with that loop. The new shuttle loop would be the one that would go in, and I would start exactly the same, and I would begin again just like that. I would just make a little loop and put the other thread in it. So that's how I begin and how I add in thread. I never tie in since I've been doing this method. I've never started with a knot. Um, I don't I don't do that anymore. So hopefully this has been helpful to you. Please let me know if it is in the comments, and anything that I can do to make it more clear. And please do let me know if the sound is better. If you watched my quote unquote live, I would definitely like to know if the sound improved, because otherwise this is definitely going to be a redo. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it very much. Don't forget, you are the masters of the thread. You have opposable thumbs and scissors. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great night.